aside from that, the treble is still very much a possibility once again for Manchester City. You take a look, just a reminder of how things stand in the Premier League, just 2 points separating the top three. Liverpool and Arsenal wouldn't have enjoyed watching that, Craig.
No, but I think there's a bit of realism in terms of what Luton tried to do. And I don't think we'll see that from any of the others that are playing Manchester City, unless they just want to chuck it from the start. But they had a go, and that's what they tried, and it failed, and I think it was obvious to everybody. But look, we talk about the injuries, and I feel for any player that has recurring injuries or any injuries, but it's kind of part and parcel, and it's frustrating for Jack Grealish himself. And it is, I suppose, a little bit for Pep Guardiola, but I just looked at the subs bench again, and it's scary. And then we go back to the game we had yesterday, and you look at the injury list that Liverpool have. I mean, it's horrendous. What they've done, they've lost one player, potentially for another couple of weeks, maybe a month, I don't know. But it pales into insignificance to what Liverpool are facing, and that's obviously one of their title rivals. Arsenal, not so bad at the moment. I mean, I've always said City can lose. Out of the three teams going, and I said this yesterday, you know, if Liverpool don't get those big players back and quick, 4 or 5 of them, they're not going to stay in this title race. You're not going to be able to do it with the Clarks, Dans, O'Connells, as good as they did at the weekend. You're not going to be able to do it with these guys. So if they don't get Szoboszlai back, and they don't get Nunes back, and they don't get the others that are injured, Salah back, it's going to be a problem. And I suppose if Arsenal lose 2 or 3 as well, that's going to be an issue. The only side that can afford, in my opinion, to lose 2, 3, maybe even 4, and you could still go, they're still the team to beat, is Man City. So the Grealish injury is frustrating for the player, but in terms of the overall picture for this squad, guess what? De Bruyne didn't play the first half of the season. Haaland's had his injury problems as well, so they'll cope. Jack Grealish just has to figure out why this is, if it is the same, keeps recurring, what he's doing, what he needs to do differently, and take the required amount of rest, which is very difficult to do from a player perspective if you're going for an FA Cup, a Premier League, oh, by the way, and the Champions League again. It is so frustrating not to force yourself back.
Nedum, before you get that private jet from Luton Airport back up to Manchester, final thoughts from you?
In the end, it was a very comfortable game. I think when it went 3-2, we thought, well, maybe this is going to be the grandstand moment for Luton, but then instead City ended up being very, very clinical. A lot of bodies out there who've got a nice feel for it. I think Kovacic scoring his first goal for City in England. I think he scored in the Club World Cup, which Craig loves, and Haaland getting the 5 goals with the De Bruyne assists. I think for them, they're in a really positive state now heading into these big games. And even though they're not necessarily a title rival, I think our home game against Manchester United will always be big from a Man City standpoint. And I think according to how they played today, they'll be feeling good heading into that match.